there's likely people watching this video who've seen videos I've made in the past, which are long, long gone, and even on different platforms as to the BBC are like my enemy. I've declared war on them 20 plus years ago. Like, no, they don't get a penny from me. No, I have no means of receiving the product, nor would I. It's like back when they used to come round for, they've been knocking on the door for a TV license. And I'd be like, I don't even listen to you fucking people in a car. It's like, if you can find a television in this house, you can slap me for a TV license. If you can find an aerial on the roof, or the means to pipe a television signal into this premises, fine. There isn't one. I've made sure. Hate them. Won't have anything to do with them. And it's like, having been forced to listen to them for years at work. And it's like, knowing, at the time, the internet and other ways of knowing things, like your own experience in this world, other ways of knowing, it's good that your own experience in this world tells you that you're being, like, really fucked with. And it's like, these people who are on the radio, they're just entertainers. They're not here to inform. They're here to keep you amused while you go to work. You little people, and us important people will do the proper work while you just get on with your business. And it's like, given things would just drive me mad. The political correctness, the bias towards, wasn't so, what's the word, on the nose as it is now, whereas where it's gone a little bit too far, but it was always there. And it was always creeping, and it was always malignant, and the way of dismissing somebody was always bring on somebody else and have somebody else who's a more esteemed person call the other person a fool, and that'd be it. That was the way that it worked. It's like, you know your place, and the BBC every day. And I'm like, this is condescending. Who do these people think they're broadcasting to? Who do they think the audience is? You go away and you find out that they're trying to reach certain audiences, and they deliberately set about an almost scientific approach as to Radio 1 is after 7, 8, 9 and 10-year-olds. Radio 2 is for the people that have grown out of Radio 1. And then the minor channels are for those who've grown out of Radio 2. Radio 2 being, the slightly more highbrow than the crazy Radio 1. The radio output drive you crazy. When they became the vehicle that then created all the new acts, that became a thing too, where nepotism destroyed the music industry faster than Napster did. It's so, the big bands that were good bands, even though music can be just gotten for free now, still make money. Thing, isn't it? Well, it's like Radio 2 be like, and this is the new single by Katie Melua, and it's out in 6 weeks' time, and they'll be playing it. And we're like, she's like a BBC product. She's from the BBC stable. And they would just feed us these guys and feed us these guys and feed us these guys. And it's like, oh, that's their hand-picked. These are completely manufactured by the BBC. The ways and means that they used to be able to do it, where you could form a band and go and play in loads of different places, because if you were willing to travel, you could get a place on a stage, and to get good, and to then make your way into the music business, for the likes of the BBC to have to play your record if it gets in the charts. Close the door to that. Gone. So it then became the cousins and brothers and grandnieces and nephews of the existing British celebrity elite. The thieves, vagabonds, players, musicians, whores, whoremongers, actors, singers, musicians, magicians. They were just given the culture. And then you've now got, second and third generation of, suddenly name means something. Suddenly family means something. Suddenly bloodstock means something. That lad in Game of Thrones, Harry Lloyd, you go on his Wikipedia page and it's like, House of Dickens. It's like, he's like Charles Dickens' great-great-great-grandson. It's in the family, it's in the... And it's like, blood. Things that you don't really say, you don't really give a shit about. Name and family and establishment matters to you. You might pour scorn on the old traditions of making one's name, but it matters so much to you guys in celebrity world. You have to be able to drop someone's name next to yours. How do we know you haven't got the divine spark of being able to handle fame, Spend a lot of time around musicians, me. And various actors of one level of ability or notoriety of another. Tend to be able to sell whatever bullshit they're being asked to say. Often no one in there. They've been paying too much attention to themselves and what they enjoy to have ever gained any insight, to have any opinions at all about what the world is outside of their own situation. It's like, talk about your own world. It's like you haven't spent the decades it takes to really form an opinion on something like whether or not the government's Nazi and that this is like 1930s Germany. It's like, are you deliberately trying to gaslight people? Or do you think you're smart mouthing off like that? Is a question for a different day. Quite a confounding thing as to where you'd start. Same guy be like, you don't know me, you can't judge me. Okay, but you can throw the word Nazi around? Celebrities, right? Massive chip on the shoulder. You'll see guys now pushed away to the front, like John Barnes will suddenly be somebody who's talking about immigration and ethics because he's a racist and one-trick pony who's had a chip on his shoulder his whole life, who's been, someone who's really respected and loved, and the world's done its best to show him that he's loved and there's no issue with race, mate. But it seems there's still an issue with race. He can't get past it. Watched an interview, say to the week, brilliant interview to watch. John McGinley, who used to play for Bolton Wanderers, who's a cult hero in Bolton. He's like he's a legend. It's like he can't move an inch in the street in Bolton without somebody wanting to shake his hands. Like, oh, John McGinley. Well, John McGinley does an interview with Viv Anderson, used to play for Man United, first black man to ever play for England. I'm a massive admirer of Anderson from when he played. I'm a centre back, but when I was younger, I used to be a right back too, and it's like I used to get to watch him play because I used to stand in the Stretford paddock, so I get to see him play in a half at right back. Right close look at Viv. Don't see him ever playing. I didn't see him as a sort of man or as a guy ever give an inch away. on a football field. And there's no one been called more ends than Viv Anderson. He was, first really high-profile black player in this country. And what's he to the real boys? It's like, when you're in the shit, this is the guy you want stood next to you. Never gives in. Proper hard bastard. Takes no prisoners. You're like, fucking come on, Viv. Don't see him crying. It's like a more mature attitude. It's like, suddenly it's like, if you get picked on enough, right? Enough. One day you'll turn a corner and you'll be like, all right, so, okay, so you're mouthing off. And it'd be a matter of you overcome it, and then next time someone throws something like that at you, like, do you for a minute think this hasn't been tried before? Really? You're going to throw that down on me? To be able to retort hard as opposed to play the victim. Even when you're being kind of race baited, because that's the thing with the certain black people will always be race baited, and same with white people be race baited by black people, but black people, they get race baited. Your lot that Michael Vaughan's in trouble for saying, your lot. Now, your lot can be anything baiting, that's why it's so hilarious. So, I use your lot, and they'll say, what do you mean your lot? I'm saying, what is it with Kevins? Excuse me? The whole fucking lot of you. What is it with people called Brian? What is it with midgets? Making it about midgets is something I do a lot, being a bigger guy. So it's like, your lot with your mouth. Excuse me? Yeah, midgets. What is it with you lot? It's like you have to mouth off. It's like, because we'd be seen to look bad if we decided to just throw you out the fucking window for talking stupid. What? So yeah, if you were the same size as me, we'd be outside. We're slapping you silly, but because you're a midget, you've got this thing as to where it would look unseemly if I was to just pick you up and just throw you over a garden wall and just fuck off, wouldn't it? So you get to mouth off and mouth off and mouth off. You see, midget privilege has been afforded to other skin colours and other sexes. That's part of woman's privilege as well, isn't it? That, you couldn't be expected to have a fist fight with a woman. It would be unseemly even if she was bigger than you. Even if she was a lot bigger than you. It was unseemly. So they get a pass, they're able to mouth off because you can't slap them. But midgets, they get afforded the same right. So I've had it work. People before have got away in the past with being able to really, super mouth off at me, and they've been like 5'1", 5'2". And they've been horrible. And it's like, you're an evil cunt. It's like, I won't trust you around kids. I dare say you're a scumbag tyrant in your own house where you've got some power, but it's like, because it would seem rather unseemly for me to knock all your teeth out, you're going to just push and push and push until the day I do. Or someone does. Terry. Oh, dead now. One day he played the same game with someone who was like raised one of 4 or 5 brothers who mother had abandoned the household, and he was raised by an alcoholic father who's again now dead. But an alcoholic farmer, he was like a town drunk. So he's like someone who's got it in him to be decent, but he's had to fight and scrap with his brothers for everything he's ever had in life. And he's like the youngest. And his brothers are arseholes, and you're like, he had to fight for every scrap with them dogs, did he, all his life? It's like, first, maybe second time that midget mouthed off to him. He dragged him outside and he fucking beat him like a bitch. And he cried his eyes out. It's like, you don't treat strangers like that. And little midgets, they seem to think they can get away with it because it would seem unseemly for the very small person to get a very big hiding. I've known little tyrant scumbags who've thrived, knowing that it would be unseemly for them to get battered, even killed for some of the shit they've done and said. Seriously, there's a power disparity in the world between the big guy who could probably just lift you and throw you in front of a bus if you wanted to get rid of you real quick, and those who can't do that. That's where the real power in the world is. I will sit and giggle. Been in boss's office, mouthing off. And I'll have a little smile to myself and it's like, what are you smiling at? You don't want to know. But he probably, might get the idea as to what I might be getting at. So if we lived in a just place, I'd be bouncing your head off that window and everyone in the office would be like, what's going on? Boom, boom, boom. It's like, no more than you deserve. You had it coming fucking years. Dreamer. Just a simple wordsmith. In them days, the sort of the narcissistic bossy types had all been educated in how to manipulate statistics to make any point that they want to make, and it used to get absurd. It's like, I know these fucking people. It's like me being me, sat in this place, right, 48 years old, nothing, facing in the springtime, facing a pile up of like new bills and things that are just going to appear by magic on top of existing cost of living issues, which are going to leave me absolutely fucking snookered. Probably, likely, find something maybe to do that might earn me a few quid before then, but I've got a very uncertain future as to where that comes in. So I'm in the shit. It's like, how do you end up in the shit? Right? You end up in the shit when you can't eat shit every day, having to put up with that kind of fucking bullying, because that's what it is. I hate it. So I don't stand for it around me in the real world, right? I challenge it. And where am I? I really, really dislike it. Oh, it's like, I'm one of these pick on someone your own size type people. And you've given the culture right to the vagabonds and thieves and musicians and shysters and pimps and magicians. And they get to look into the social justice crystal ball and pull wisdom from within their anus as to certain, parallels in the way that they think this country is and the way that it really is. And it's like, that's goes down amongst one of the most absurd concepts I've ever heard from anyone to compare this country to 1930s Germany. In that respect, if you wanted to compare this country to 1930s Germany, it could be said that the government really doesn't control the country, and that the Soviet, or like the council, does. I think all the power, and they know it now, they get it, and they've understood it for a long time, and people have failed to notice. But to control the local councils is to control the police. To control the press is to control the police and the council. What? Yeah. I think the most powerful men in this country are the chief executives of metropolitan councils. I think they're above the law. I think they're untouchable. I think they're able to target the police towards what they want doing. I think that anyone in the police force who was willing to stand up and say, hang on a minute, there's a crime taking place here, we have to do something about it, they've just been removed years ago and replaced with more controllable political correctness types who can be blackmailed with political correctness, with the magic game, with the shell game. They can be blackmailed with it from the top and from below as well. It's like the idealist, let's say Tony Blair, the utopian socialist, has done a deal with the criminals, right, and the outcasts, the hippies and the communists, the Marxists, the gay community, all the big radicals, and said, right, the price we're willing to pay is to unleash you on everyone for us to maintain power. We're willing to do a deal with you guys, the devil, in order to always stay in power. We think it's probably worth it. That Peter Hitchens, he gets it. He's been this week up in hot water for making comment of how come the IRA just sort of disappeared into nothingness and nothing's ever said about them, and you can't say that. It's like, well, yes you can. Said it myself. It's like, I find it hard to believe that the IRA hadn't infiltrated every facet of life in England, Britain. I find it unbelievable that if they hadn't. Those guys were allied with the left. They masqueraded themselves as well, they were Marxist revolutionaries, the IRA. The leftists. Yeah, they're ideological leftists. They were backed by the commies. They were backed by the Russians. They had all the cover in the universe on the left in this country. Nobody talks about them. It's like Labour got their power in 97 and did a deal, and it's now something we don't talk about. These men were heroes, excuse me. Yes, we have to treat them with respect. What? It's like, we don't need a paramilitary anymore. We've got a better idea. Okay, right, yeah, just say nothing and just let everyone off. Away you go. Let's have some peace, truth and reconciliation. And they've been the people that the IRA would ostensibly be fighting on the behalf of when they were a thing. They haven't benefited a fucking inch other than to have not the IRA blowing things up. They live under a code of silence and criminal rule like we've got here, corruption, same things going on. Same underground, same drug business, same dirty tricks brigades. They all still exist, still in one piece, never prosecuted and never really investigated. What happened to all those people? What happened to all those networks? Oh no, we don't talk about that. They ceased to exist. They all just gave up. Did they become suddenly normalised people? Embedded themselves into the larger leftist socialist causes around the world. Likely are now, I don't know, members of Extinction Rebellion and the like. It's got to go somewhere, all that crazy. It's like the unseen forces, right, in this country. If you start to think about who the players are when it comes to actual power, right, it's pretty mind-blowing. Because in all of these political discourses. There are very powerful, let's say, associations of people who aren't represented at the table. And it seems to me the criminals are. They are at the table. Something came upon me years ago. People would say to me, 20, 25 years ago even, they'd say, you should become a politician. Really? Well, yeah, you're brilliant at talking on these subjects. You seem to know what's going on. It's like, really? And just laugh about it. But many say it. And it's actually just a way of telling someone to shut the fuck up. And we're not interested. But it become a thing. You should become a politician. You should become a politician. And if you really think about it, if you meet someone who mouths off like a fucking idiot and is completely ineffectual and a nightmare, right? Whose head's up their ass, and you're someone who's like laundering money, you're the you're the clean side of street crime. And you've got a front business or something. You're operating as an estate agent or more like a solicitor or else accountant. Like to be seen to be. Virtue signal. And someone comes along who's a fucking clueless idiot, and it'd be, oh, she'll do. Wouldn't she be a fine MP for Rochdale? Wouldn't she be a fine MP for Oldham? What? Yeah, she's fucking useless. Doesn't know her ass from her elbow. We can run rings around her forever, and knowing that all we've got to do is trick her. She'll look out for us. You ever thought of creating a YouTuber? It's an old concept of mine, isn't it? Political activists, YouTube, manufactured. You like the look of someone and say, I'd like to support your work, I'd like to support your channel, and you start throwing them a few grand. Suddenly they're your broadcaster. Suddenly you've got unfettered access. Suddenly you can make it so one person like that with a view to groom someone to be just a fucking nuisance, just a stick in the mud, just to muddy the water. Wallop, go full time, make videos every day. Wallop. Ha. And then when it comes out years later that you're a sex trafficker, this guy be like, no, he'd never do anything like that. He's a good guy. I've known him for years. He's a good guy. No, I'd trust him to the ends of the earth. And it's like, what did he buy? He bought your loyalty. Loyalty ain't a good thing. It's a thing. It's not a good thing. It's a test, isn't it? Loyalty is a test of character. Never break loyalty. It's like, what if you know that a terrible crime's been done against the people of Britain during that COVID pandemic by that Nick Hancock and his friends? Never break loyalty. She signed a confidentiality agreement. Like, he fucked everyone. Everyone. Even his own family. He fucked everyone deliberately. What's loyalty compared to that? Because that's what loyalty is. It's a test. It's not a rule. It's like they value that over. And they don't understand it. It's to say loyalty is a test of character. Sometimes you have to be that guy who busts out your own. It's the only way anyone's ever going to see justice. Sometimes. Whistleblowers. Without whistleblowers and grasses, nobody gets arrested in this world. No, you don't tell, you don't snitch. Wonder there's things to worry about, not worry about, consider, I worry, I think about, wrestle with. Lineker. We don't have a fucking clue who he is. We've got Gary Walker's Crisps Lineker. Smiley Gary. We don't know who that guy is. We might have it as to where on his own little private networks, he snaps his fingers and people say, shit, I wouldn't want him mouthing off about me. I'd better follow suit and better back this guy, otherwise I wouldn't want to be seen to be disloyal. And then between them, they'd be like, hang on a minute. We're bigger than the politicians. We can save the world. What? Yeah, get Gary Neville on the phone. And then you've got yourself a fucking rollerball situation where the world has become a popularity contest and the legendary sportsman wins. Fantasists. I could, of any of these footballers who speaks out politically, right? There's only one of them that I wouldn't have it in my ability to crucify on what they think history is of politics. And the only one I wouldn't crucify would be Letitia. But I'd teach him a thing or two he didn't know. The rest would just get crucified. They don't know anything or enough of anything to be able to make a fair judgment as to what's real. It's like, these guys might have their own houses in order in life, right? But professional footballers are kids who won lotteries. Every single one of them's got a rags to riches story because, 99% of them didn't fucking make it. So life is a fairy tale to a professional footballer. You might feel some kind of weird survivor's guilt about it as to, why did I get to be rich and famous and I left all my friends behind and they're all drunks and I can't help them? You might feel something like that because the life of a celebrity is not a normal life. Gary Lineker enjoys the kind of fame only reserved once upon a time for guys who'd made, Nelson. I'm telling you. Heroes. He ain't a fucking hero, he's a footballer. Broadcaster. Really? There was people laughing about Trump, weren't they, when he turned up? He's a TV show presenter. It's like, yeah, but he's a guy who's made a lot of decisions, isn't he? Good ones. It's like he's made probably 5 or 6 good decisions for every bad one he's made. And he's backed his play with investment, hasn't he? So it's a bit different, isn't it? It's a bit different than an actual TV show guy who's played football, which would be an all-consuming, almost different dimensional alien place these guys used to visit every week that they don't visit anymore, that still exists. And in that alternate reality, they showed some skill in a game that's, so in some regards, like rollerball, not meant to be easy. It's difficult to be as good as Alan Shearer. Saw one of his earliest games playing football, Alan Shearer, as a professional. Playing against Rochdale for Southampton. That's, if anyone else in the world caught that game, you know this reputation that Matt Letizia has got for being lazy. See him play against Rochdale, he did fuck all. He just hung around on right wing. He was sacrificed for Shearer to play out middle, so he played out of position for quite a lot of his career this year. When Shearer went, he got to be a legend, didn't he? Funny old thing that the people don't get that about Letizia, you know. Now he's a thing they talk about him as a player. It's like weird as in the time I used to get to the matches a lot. Saw him play loads of times in that period, where it's like he was being played. He was recognised as a good footballer, talent, you know, skillful, but sacrificed. They just put him in the side. But we got in there to watch Rochdale play. Got in just as it kicked off. Walked to the wall at the front at Wilbert's Lane. Looks on the pitch. Canal Southampton put a full side out. Now they got a few kids on. It's like Jason Dodd playing. People like Francis Benali, I think, would have been playing. And then who's that up front? Oh, it's a kid. And then ball dropped to him, bang, 20 yards out, broke back a net. What's his name again? Shearer. Oh, remember him. Like, remember. Like, first thing I saw him do on a football field was just pick ball up, bang, top corner. Yeah, he might be a good in him, you know. He might be a feral player. But yeah, Letizia got to be the god at Southampton when Shearer was sold. It's like, right, okay, you can play in the middle now. You can actually, you can establish yourself playing where you want to play. And that's where he stepped up, became consistent, became a good one. He's misjudged. He was misjudged at the time, you know, by the bigger clubs thinking, might we sign this fella? He was misjudged as being a lazy arse because of them years he spent just never tracking back, playing in a wide position. He was a luxury player. It's like maybe, you know, you throw him up against Forest and he's up against like Stuart Pearce or something like that. Pearce utterly destroy you if you allow him to get forward. Tough, very tough defensive operator. But he'd have so much work in him that you'd just be giving the thug, the bully, the psycho, complete control of the flank because you played Matt Letizia up against him, who's got no interest in mixing it with that guy to maybe give a throwing away. Ha! But in his game, it's like, no, don't ask him to get stuck in. He's not going to do that for you. He'll move intelligently, but he ain't tracking back. Never. And Letizia's reputation for being lazy comes from that period of time where he had been introduced to football but wasn't necessarily being played in his favoured position, which would be really up front or off the front. Likely had played his youth career as a centre forward, playing off another striker. Matthew Letizia, yeah, he gets it. He's we're saying that sensible person. You get funny creatures in football. You get absolute fanatics who live for it, and then every now and then you get really practical and sensible people who are really durable. They tend to be the better players. You see that Roy Keane when he mouths off? You'll never hear him mouthing off about race or getting involved in any bullshit like that, ever. He talks about what he knows. I was looked up at how many times in his career he was on the losing team, and he played for 17 years. 60 times lost. Lost 60 games in his career, but he lost 20 of them playing for Nottingham Forest in one season. So it's like, how many times you're on the losing side for United? Never more than twice in a season. It's like, what's he? It's like, he's a fucking psycho. But he's a practical man. He sticks to what he knows, sticks to what he's good at, and doesn't move out of his lane. And it's like, who would you rather have? Who'd you rather have character-wise in that situation as to, hey, we're in the shit here? Who'd you rather have sat next to you in that commentator's chair? Like, when the fans decide in the end they've had enough of the pundits and they're going to kick their asses, right? You're like, right, who do you want? Who do you want sat next to you? On that day, you want Graham Souness and Roy Keane sat next to you, don't you? Although Souness, his heart's probably fucked, so he wouldn't be up for much, but it's like Keane, he'd probably take 30 or 40 of them out before they eventually overwhelmed him. There'd be snot, blood and teeth everywhere. It's like, might that happen in football? It's like, football be a thing, but I mean, society in general, it's like my original war with the BBC video from years ago where I outlined how much I fucking hated them. I came up with this sort of skit. So, this is me talking like 15 years ago, you know, like a long time ago. There's a big problem that someone needs to address with Russell Brand. I don't think I'd have continued to make videos from when I started if it wasn't for his encouragement and input. And at the same time, I don't know whether he got his idea to just switch on a webcam and start mouthing off. I don't know whether he got that idea from seeing me do it. So in that way, I like that he's on the right side now. And he's a total pain in the arse, and it's like no one's ever going to allow him a fair fight, are they? So he has to fight an unfair fight. It's a matter of, look, if you're going to have psychos run the job, there are some really, really fucking competent ones. Why not go and get them? What? So yeah, you'll find no saints. You'll find no saints amongst the people you've decided are acceptable. Why don't you go and get some more intelligent psychopaths to help you? Get some more intelligent psychopaths to wipe out the psychopaths you've got. We'll come to realise that half the heavies and fucking gangsters in this country, you know, proper, you know, muscle enforcers, likely are already working with and for the fucking celebrities. What? So yeah, they must get the drugs from somewhere. Do me a favour. Who's the most powerful man in this country? Dr. Feelgood. Who's he? He's whoever sells the influential their cocaine. Can be a different person every day, can't it? But they're like the celebrity class. They're pimps and dealers who often the two roles will mingle into one. It's like they're the secret biographers of the world, aren't they? The secret scribes, the guys who are being paid for their discretion. You know, so they don't break loyalty. Because they know they pay a price. Loyalty, eh? loyalty amongst thieves exists where it really shouldn't. It's code, isn't it? But you say back in the day, I had a playful skit as to what I'd do or what should be done in my view, or as I put it, if I ever had opportunity to. But the actual instrument, I realised later, is illegal or a crime. So to be able to do what I thought, well, you know what you could do? To be able to do it, you'd have already committed a crime before you'd set off. Murdering. What? Murdering? Yes, murdering. Murdering? Yeah. I'm like, right, you make yourself, right, a death list. What? Yeah, fill it with celebrities. People we can do without. Shills. People who are leading our country astray, who are degenerates, drug dealers, sex fiends, know all kinds of crazy shit. You make a death list. Right? All kinds of names on it. Barack Obama's on my death list, you know what I mean? So Barack Obama goes on there. And you knock this huge death list out. Put it in your pocket. Make your way to London, right? And suss out that Jeremy Vine on his way home from work on that fucking push bike. As far as I'm concerned, all you would need is a big stick, like something like a clothes prop. Jam it in the fucking wheels of the bike, whether you cop for a spoke or you just lance him off the thing, knock him sideways flying, and then improvise from there how you finish him off. So if there's like a fucking truck coming full of fucking cement, get in front of that, Jeremy. See ya. Crunch. Dead Jeremy Vine. I surrender, fair cop. I'm guilty. I admit it. I just killed Jeremy Vine. Fire. And then, when they go through me things, they go in my pocket, they find the death list. Oh my God, there's 450 names on this. And circle Jeremy Vine at like 365th. Best I could do. So I was going to get someone. I had a fucking big list. And yeah, if I could have got me number one and number two pick, you know, it might have been that would have been a fucking day to remember, but I could only get one in the low 300s, Jeremy Vine, under a fucking bus. How about that? And then get, like, led in a court and be giving it that. Check out my death list at followmylead.com. I think it's a good idea for a joke. But making a death list, now, if you were to be caught with a death list, they'd be using words like genocide. Because who's the death list the tool of? Communists. Anyone who's set about highlighting a bunch of people they'd like to get rid of, for one reason or another, will circulate a death list. You don't have to know why you're on the list. You don't have to know there's a list. But when the day comes when the revolution arrives in the city of Way, out come the turncoats with their fucking lists and provide the lists to the soldiers to kill every person who they've ever suspected of having any sympathies with the government. Dead. And then, leaving the town, the turncoats, well, we can't really trust you people, can we? You've seen their faces. Dead. Your cover's blown. Dead. Yeah, that's lists. If they find death lists, the UN investigators would start to use the word genocide, because they had it where you couldn't prove a genocide unless you could provide these documents to say that the government had set about in an organised way exterminating a targeted number of people. That would be called genocide. They wouldn't be able to resist calling it genocide. So I've been mulling it over for years. This is like 2000. This is 15-year-old thinking. I'm mulling it over like, yeah, you could throw Jeremy Vine under a fucking truck and kill him outright, and have the left speaking of genocide as to what might befall them. What? Yeah. So I think in a broader sense of this culture war being a spiritual war for the soul of man, it's like it could be, you can make it as big as you like. A guy like Lineker made himself a very, very, very feasible target for political assassination, I think. And opened an whole world of possibility as to what could happen if people with a mind to change things decide our target selection needs to change, and if we stop targeting our rivals and would-be opponents with violence, why don't we go after the nepotic elite that's shitting all over us instead? And if the game that they're playing is one of high-profile gaslighting and influencing, well, aren't they the obvious targets of retribution? To take out a big influencer is big news. I think you're going to see murders. I really do. I think now's the time. It's like I thought of it years ago and laughed it off, but now I think people will catch up, and it would be that there'd be those in the world who would think that the best move would be to kill George Clooney. And that'd be the best cultural political move available for an individual. If you could get the media class worried that they were being targeted for assassination, you'd see some epic changes in society almost overnight. It's like it's a self-serving, backslapping, mutual masturbation society. You threaten the existence of that, and you see a fucking backlash. If you want to see a government go savage and double down, right? Target celebrities, and they'll treat it like it was an Armageddon, like the end of the world. I say I've made a few good jokes in the past. Or my idea of jokes is don't come to me with your talk of revolution until you've got a nuclear weapon for me. Give me a nuclear weapon, and I'll bring change. What would you do with it, John? I'd blow up Hollywood. So imagine the pages of obituaries. And all them lawyers dead. Instantly dead, all them lawyers from all them cases gone. So they don't really make that many movies in Hollywood anyway now, because it's too expensive to shoot there. So, they can get decent sunshine to make movies in Australia. So, yeah, it's a win-win. I think you could win the culture war by using one nuclear weapon. You couldn't do it with a country, because there'd be a full-scale nuclear retaliation, and it'd then be seen as a political decision to have done it. And it's like, no, give me a bomb, and I'll blow up Hollywood for you. A big one, that fucks the place right up so it's gone, and it's up in smoke. And you can pin it on me if you want. Say, John Collins blew Hollywood up. This is what Hollywood was, and it produces, and you can have your dancing girls and all your magic of Hollywood and fucking Mickey Mouse and all that shit. And then you can have, boom, blown to fucking smithereens, megaton blast, and then the end. Dun, 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 dun. The story of Hollywood. And in 1,000 years' time, when human, like, we won't need, we'll be so smart, be able to absorb so much information so quickly that the law, we will caught up evolutionary with our low attention span. We will evolutionarily adapt to our short attention span, and that's what it'll be in 2 years' time. The story of Hollywood would be a TikTok video lasting about 30 seconds with dancing girls, Hollywood Hills, Walt Disney, maybe You Dirty Rat, you know, James Cagney and John Wayne on a horse, and then John Collins came along and blew it up with a nuclear weapon. The end. You can see it now.